It's time for the Big Black Man Podcast, Juneteenth Atlanta, right here in Atlanta, Georgia, with the Big Black Man. Black, blacker than black can be, blackety black, the Big Black Man. Black people, Happy New Year. It's a new year, it's a new time, it's a new day. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be celebrating Juneteenth Atlanta Parade and Music Festival throughout the whole year of 2025 because our dates are June 14th and June 15th, 2025. And we're going to celebrate. We're also going to talk about today the different topics. The Cannabis Connection is here with us, with Philip Davis. And we're also going to talk about the national holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So be ready for all that we're going to be doing today. And as you know, I am the Big Black Man. So without further ado, let's welcome our guest here to the Juneteenth Atlanta podcast, Mr. Philip Davis. He's going to tell us about the Cannabis Connection. Philip, welcome to the Juneteenth Atlanta podcast.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm elated to be here in the Juneteenth studio with Mr. Arnold. It is my pleasure.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you, Philip. Philip, Juneteenth Atlanta Studios has created something called the Cannabis Connection. Now, anybody who knows my background, I'm known as Arnold the Drug-Free Recruiter. And Arnold the Drug-Free Recruiter for the past 20, 30 years plus, and Arnold's Army Against Drugs. Now, when cannabis came about, it was like an oil, right? Philip, what's the healing properties of that? Healing properties of the oil?
Well, healing can be derived through the oil, or even in some situations like with glaucoma, for instance, people can inhale the cannabis and it's aiding in the glaucoma, or there are certain cancer patients who may use cannabis instead of using prescription medicine as far as for relaxation and for alleviation of pain.
Well, I know our founder and president, Bob Johnson, is definitely very high on getting involved with the Cannabis Connection and getting empowering the people of our community, which was known for using the product and also being a part of the sale of the product. So one thing great about the Cannabis Connection, in which you will be hosting, is kind of like Everybody Hates Chris and the Cosby Show coming together into an fusion. And you're going to be talking about your childhood and how you grew up in a neighborhood that was sort of like Black Wall Street. Tell us about your vision for the Cannabis Connection.
So yes, I would like to allude to the fact of the 1960s before segregation, as far as how the neighborhood was prosperous and there was independence in Black neighborhoods, really nationally. Whereas we owned markets, we owned gas stations, we owned industries, we owned farms and the mechanisms to supply to our stores. In certain aspects, in certain areas, we own banks.
And this is in Wichita, Kansas, right?
Well, Wichita, Kansas was a part of that.
Okay. A part of the movement. So you said it was like a Black Wall Street, this 9th Street. So we're going to take this 9th Street, where it was once a bustling, thriving Black business. And so what my take is, they, instead of having white hoods ride through the neighborhood and burn crosses, they infiltrated with the drug use. Would that be a fair assessment?
Well, drugs was one mechanism, but there were areas of intimidation where the people were intimidated out of things, and just the mechanism of trickery.
The mechanism of trickery, right? We definitely know about that, because even in slavery times when they sold, because it was our people that sold us into slavery, and let's just get real with that, and but they were thinking they were going to go and work and be utilized in a more positive manner, but they came into like squalor and dire straits when they got here in America, and that was a problem. So the whole piece with the cannabis situation is that we are concerned, especially from the drug prevention aspects. Like I said, I'm Arnold's Army Against Drugs, and I definitely have been trying to do drug prevention as a drug-free kid and a drug-free adult. I am concerned about the use of the cannabis product, and so I need someone to put me at ease with that, with the healing properties of it. And I think this show, The Cannabis Connection, can help not only me, but people like myself who are concerned about the use of any type of substance that's being, but it's called what? Drug abuse, though. It is called drug abuse. So we can take this drug, just like prescription drugs, and we know about Big Pharma, right? So you know how they utilize that to keep people in need of their particular product. So basically, the CBD oil, is that what it's called?
CBD oil.
The CBD oil is doing wonders. It's working wonders from what I understand. And I just want to have a better clarity, and I want my listeners to have a better clarity. If you just tuned in, you're listening to the Juneteenth Atlanta podcast with the Big Black Man. I have Philip Davis here, and he's talking about the cannabis connection. And the cannabis connection has a whole storyline. So let's tell your story, and let's get introduced to the characters on 9th Street in Wichita, Kansas.
9th Street at one point was a bustling and thriving community where there were many businesses.
Yeah.
It was similar to a Black Wall Street, if you will.
Okay.
And then after the introduction of I really say primarily the crack cocaine era.
Okay.
9th Street became fizzled out. It became ran down. It became destroyed, essentially.
Yeah.
The cannabis connection is sort of fictional.
Okay.
Because it's as if cannabis was utilized to reconstruct and redefine and rebuild the once prosperous community to where in the fictorial part of the story, cannabis has essentially brought the community back to what it once was before the era of segregation.
Oh, I see. So basically, the cannabis connection is going to show a hustling, bustling, economically empowered people who are going to take something that was normally used to disenfranchise them, but this time it's going to be utilized to empower them. Is that what you're saying?
And to aid and assist them.
And aid and assist them, because it's here. It is here. You know, one thing about drugs and drug use, people look for escapism and ways to get away from the real world. But the whole different things of the characters that you have created in this cannabis connection, can help teach everyone, not only myself, but all of the listeners and all of the viewers. I'm seeing it more like a Fat Albert type of, and you know, Everybody Hates Chris is going into a animated series. So you're kind of like my Chris character. And tell us about your background so people know who you are. So how you came to even consider this project as one of your major pieces for 2025. How did you pull this off in your mind?
Well, initially, my background is that of a spiritual guru in a sense. I grew up in the church. I was very spiritual at a young age.
Okay.
A lot of people say you have an old soul. Initially, I didn't actually partake in cannabis until I turned about 14.
Okay.
Then I had a cousin who basically influenced me or made me hit it for that matter.
Okay.
And then once that happened, then I was participating in using cannabis myself.
Okay.
I used it socially. I used it for fun, so I wasn't really using it for medical help. I used it like the majority of our people are probably using it just for fun and kicks.
And it's just some of the things that the kids would do. Also, they would get like prescription drugs and take those just for a quick high. Is that can we consider it the same type of situation with the cannabis, like the weed? It was called weed in different names.
Yeah, but in my family, cannabis was considered more okay because it was natural to the earth.
Okay.
And then so many of our relatives were using it and historically had basically been passed down from generation to generation where there was a continued use of it. So it wasn't really looked down as far as like other drugs would be considered looked down upon.
Okay.
Because again, it was a natural herb of the earth.
Because, you know, like when I came in, the 80s came in, that's when crack hit. And then, of course, I created Arnold, the drug-free recruiter. So I would go, oh, I got an army just for you. You live, right, live. Pick them up. And I had a whole generation of children at the world-famous Apollo Theater following Arnold's Army Against Drugs and making kids, you know, become more responsible and can do their chores. And they would get certificates and they would get all types of things for being a model child. And anything to keep them from getting involved in drug use and sale. And that's how I came into the drug game as a prevention method because I saw in the entertainment industry, Philip, that a lot of the actors and a lot of the celebrities were really addicted to the drugs. And as we see now with the whole P. Diddy case and the hip hop community, he would lace the drinks with some type of ecstasy and the pink cocaine and all of these things that are happening in the in the hip hop or in the entertainment industry, the Hollywood, or should you say Hollyweird situation. So it was my concern. I was concerned. So I definitely started to defy gravity, as they say, and move out of the entertainment industry. And that's why I love the movie Wicked, because he said, something has changed within me. Something is not the same. So I had to remove myself and defying gravity. I had to defy gravity and come and move from New York City, by the way of North Carolina, to Georgia, here with the Juneteenth Atlanta podcast and parade and music festival, because I wanted to celebrate what? Our history. And because this is our national holiday, Juneteenth, and the Juneteenth Atlanta Parade and Music Festival is on the premises, as they say, and we are excited about that. Bob Johnson, shout out to you. Man, you did it. I'm here. I'm your soldier. So that's why, since cannabis is real, and they have different farms and different things being grown, and the drug is being, or the herb, should I say. But there's good drugs and bad drugs. So I'm just trying to need you, Philip, to help me to understand the goodness of it, and at the same time, because I know how people can abuse it, I need to know how they can utilize it for safety and for health. And you created some characters. Let's talk about your characters, man. And in that, so you have some characters you want to share with us. Just like everybody hates Chris, everybody loves Philip.
I do have 3 characters that I'm going to share with you today. Behind each character, I have written a poem into the character.
Okay.
So that kind of shows the artistic side of this Cannabis Connection project.
Okay.
But I'll start with the first character. Her name is Aunt Kelly. Just to give you her background, she grew up in a sheltered home. Her family was a part of the organization called the Church of God in Christ. She got caught up in the crack era or epidemic. She winded up losing her children to her mother. Her mother actually adopted all of her children. Her character actually deals with her still being able to maintain a certain sense of beauty. She was still very beautiful, which gave her certain advantages even though she was hooked on drugs. It shows her survival skills and her natural abilities. She still had hustle to her. She eventually becomes stable and gets off the street and gets off of drugs. And then she becomes a part of this cannabis revitalization era that's going on in the community.
So what you're saying, her name is Aunt Kelly?
Aunt Kelly.
Aunt Kelly. I'm sure we all have different aunts and uncles that have succumbed to the fall of drug use and sale. And so this character can definitely resonate with a lot of people, Philip. I definitely,
Well, the crack era really did a number on our people.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, it was really out of innocence in the 1970s to the 1980s.
Okay.
A lot of our people didn't really understand what they were getting themselves into. They were introduced to it as a party drug. Mm-hmm. They hadn't seen it before. They didn't know anything about it. The government had just recently engineered it and put it into the community. So it was, again, a part of that trickery that I went into earlier. So our people were trying something, and then from one time of trying it, now you have a lifelong addiction. So that's how it happened to many of our brothers and sisters.
Exactly, and that's what I feel. It was a plot for genocide, to take us out. And that's what my feeling was, and that's why I'm very rigid about this situation, because I see potentials destroyed. Basically, I see people who can go to the top of the mountain, and we as a people, especially black people who are the original melanin, are the strong. So basically, some type of strategy had to be used in order to make us weak
and undermine us.
So that's why I have so much detest for this strategy of taking us down. So that's basically, if you had all your faculties together and you had a clean and sober mind, think of the wondrous things you could do with your life. Think of all the new innovations. We definitely have a whole list of black inventors who have created everything for this country and everything for the world.
And those inventors happened even during everything we've been going through as the black community.
That's right.
So you have all these inventors and some of the inventions occurred during slavery or right out of slavery. And then you go from that to the hangings and the lynchings and the Ku Klux Klans and all of these other different factors that affected our community. Even the poverty and the redlining and the holding us out of opportunities, still our people were avid in inventing and creating, and we're just a unique and blessed, gifted people.
Yes, we are. And and these people on Cannabis Street, we're going to hear about their struggles, but we're going to see them being empowered in something that they tried to destroy us with. They literally tried to destroy us with these drugs in our community. So now I'm trying to find a way to flip that. And as we do as a people, they give us the pig. We make delicacies out of it. Okay. They give us it from the rooter to the tutor, slave food as they call it. But we know how to take something like this cannabis and turn it into something that's going to revitalize the community. And that's what Cannabis Connection is all about.
Well, also, I come from the perspective that a lot of us are actually mixed with indigenous Americans. Mm-hmm. So if you go back to the indigenous Americans, they were already having peace pipes. And some of those peace pipes were full of tobacco, but some of those peace pipes had marijuana in them.
Right.
So historically, our people always used this plant, this herb, this cannabis, but the government used it to make it illegal and used it as a tool against us. And because they made it illegal, they broke up homes and broke up families. And they really did a number on our people with the making something that they knew historically we already used illegal.
You're absolutely right about that. So now it's legal. So since it's legal, Juneteenth Atlanta podcast is working towards this studio project. I don't know if we're going to use animation or puppetry, but these characters will come to life. And so what's the next character that you can share with us that's on Cannabis Street?
On Cannabis Street, there was an older gentleman named Rudy. He owned a barbecue restaurant.
Okay.
The interesting thing about Rudy is Rudy had been around before segregation. Okay. So when Cannabis Street was initially thriving back in the 1960s, 1950s, Rudy's Barbecue was already a staple in the community.
That sounds good.
Rudy's Barbecue was able to survive the downfall of the community. He witnessed all the businesses closing, all the markets closing. He witnessed the loss of the economics. But he was such an entrepreneur and had that entrepreneur spirit that he was able to thrive all the way into the Reconstruction when cannabis comes back in and the businesses begin thriving again. So he was always a inspiration person. He was always a wisdom giver. He gave us insight, and he just basically encouraged his people, even in the times of the fall, to do all they can do and believe in themselves.
Okay, so you say you're gonna do some impressions for me today, right? So how does he sound? Is this the character, or what would he always say to the people on the street? And just give us a little taste if you can. What was this character like? I hear you tell us about him. I want you to be him. I want to see him. Can we do that?
You can do it.
He would say that.
You can do your dreams.
Okay. What else, Rudy? I want to do. Hold on. That's what.
Don't let go.
Okay.
Be tough. You'll get through it.
And that's Rudy. All right. All right. So we got one more character, right? On Cannabis Street.
The last character I'm going to go in for you today is Pastor Joel. He grew up in the church.
Pastor Joel.
He witnessed the damage that drugs did and segregation caused in his community. He was against the rise of crime and of gangs. He didn't understand his people killing one another.
Okay.
He plays a major role in terms of getting legislation passed pertaining to the legalization of cannabis.
Okay, and so this person, he is a pastor, you say?
He's preaching the word of God.
He's preaching the word of God. And speaking of God, we are definitely excited about a preacher that's coming up, and his name was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be celebrating his birthday on January 15th. Now, I say 15th is significant because everybody who knows me in New York knows that I was working with Kiss FM on the Jeff Fox Morning Show, and then with Dougie Fresh on the on the show with the hookup, and then of course with Reverend Al Sharpton dealing with the Big Black Man on the National Action Network Saturday morning rally. So people know me as the blacker than black can be. So I'm definitely a militant in my own right. But we definitely, and the philosophies of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was held in high esteem with the National Action Network, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. And his birthday is coming up, and the celebration before Juneteenth's national holiday declaration, the holiday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was also brought into play in the 1980s. And I wrote a play called The Peacemaker. You can get it on Amazon and go take a look at it and support it, so that way we can support Juneteenth Atlanta Parade and Music Festival and our Georgia United campaign with Bob Johnson, president and founder. So here at the Juneteenth residency, we are here at the gallery, and we want to talk about how can the dream was one thing that Dr. Martin Luther King talked about, but economic empowerment, which is what Cannabis Street is all about, the Cannabis Connection is all about economic empowerment. And you say something, Philip, that you have some different, some wonderful insight on what Dr. King's message was about. But like you're saying, how he was, had a dream, but now, I believe he was assassinated, is that he was about to launch a staunch economic empowerment campaign before he was assassinated. And so what's your take on that, Philip?
If you look at the media's perspective of it, they celebrate him on the I Have a Dream, which was a very powerful speech. But what's never mentioned in the latter years, he became focal in terms of his people's economics. He became an advocate of the poor. He was against the Vietnam War. King at some point makes a statement while he's holding a rifle in his hand on top of a bus that the next time we go to Washington, we're going for our check.
What?
So this is where the economic stance begins to come in. Also, King made a statement at one point that he fears that he's led his people into a burning building. King also talked about the historics of the fact. One thing he mentioned is that they took millions and millions of acres of land from our people and gave it to the European peasants to undergird them. Mm-hmm. And while they were doing all this for the European peasants, it almost reminds me of this whole immigration thing today, where they flooded all of these immigrants from all over the world, and they give them A and give them B, and they give them assistance and help them open up businesses, and they give them jobs, and they really secure them in certain spaces. They give them housing and all kind of finances. But you turn around, and if you look in downtown Atlanta, all you see homeless is our people.
That's right.
Because we have no economic help. So this is one thing King was looking at way back then. And so I believe that that is a reason why they took him out the way, because he looked at the economic empowerment of his people. And this also ties in to the destruction of what we call Black Wall Street, where we have these cities. I'll give you two instances, one in Greenwood, North Carolina, the other one in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So these cities were bustling and were thriving. And they got to a certain extent, to a certain point, where the government actually was coming to them for loans. And so this started making some of the Europeans or the others jealous, and they came in and burned down and destroyed these cities and burnt them to the ground. But this didn't happen in just those two instances. This happened all over the nation.
Okay, so that's going to be our mantra for 2025, everybody. Black economic empowerment. And as we celebrate King Day on this day of service, we want you all to get out there and make a difference and empower your brother and your sister, and make sure that you are in alignment with the fact that we need in this new era, especially the era of we're in the age of Aquarius now, everyone. And the age of Pisces was ended after 2,500 years, and now we are moving into the age of the age of Aquarius. And we're definitely harmony and understanding, pulling things together, working together, unity. And our Georgia United campaign is what we're all about here at the Juneteenth Atlanta Parade and Music Festival. We definitely want all of Georgia to unite and come together and be a part of our parade, our festival. Vendors, we're looking for you. We're looking for you to be a part of everything that we're doing as we move forward. In February, we're having our major fundraiser at City Hall here in Atlanta, Georgia. So we're excited about it. So definitely, I want to stay to the mission statement of Juneteenth Parade and Music Festival. Also, we have our jam, which is Juneteenth Atlanta Music, and we're paying tribute to different icons. We'll be paying tribute to Atlanta musicians such as T.I., Ludacris, Outkast, and the list goes on and on. So we definitely want you to be a part of our stage show. For all the artists who are out there listening, if you want to perform in our Juneteenth Atlanta Festival, please let us know. You can reach us at the Juneteenth. Go to our website, JuneteenthAtlanta.com. That's JuneteenthAtlanta.com, and be a part of it. Well, Philip, I want to thank you so much for coming and being a part of our show, man. Any closing words you want to say to let us know about Cannabis Connection, Cannabis Street? What do you want to leave our listeners with about the whole plight of working together in unity, for those who pull together, those who are not together? How can we come together? What was your suggestion?
Well, I would like to recite one of the poems based off one of the characters.
Okay, great.
Because this is a part of the artsy side of the Cannabis Connection. Mm-hmm. So I'm taking Aunt Kelly. I mentioned her earlier. So this poem is from her. The queen of the streets, the diva of flesh. I got caught up with crack, then my life was a mess. Still pretty and savvy, my beauty secured. Through struggle and trials, some way I endured. I lost all my kids, my motherly grip. Was it not for my mother, my feet would have slipped. Even rock bottom, I sat like a queen, 'cause all of the dealers knew I was the cream. I drove the best caddies, dined dinners, not snacks. I always could pull the D-boys with the sack. Still sick and tired and needing a change, I damaged myself or hemorrhaged my brain. With all of the strength that remained in my soul, I became drug-free, my ultimate goal. Worked over the time, worked time and a half, till I saved a nest egg to open a cannabis store. With years of sobriety, and cannabis cash, I look over my life, many tears, I still laugh.
All right. Aunt, what's her name again?
Aunt Kelly.
Aunt Kelly. We are with you, Aunt Kelly. We love you, Aunt Kelly. We are definitely for you, Aunt Kelly. We look forward to seeing your story and all of the different stories on Cannabis Street, in the Cannabis Connection, hosted by Philip Davis. We are very excited about the whole project. Juneteenth Studios, ATL, is going to be producing the show. But in the meantime, throughout the month and throughout the year, we're going to be having Mr. Davis talk about the various issues that he feels very passionate about. Well, that's our time. I am the big black man, blacker than black can be. And as always, we want you to be conscious of working together, pulling together. Georgia United is what we're about here at Juneteenth Atlanta Podcast. And like I said, visit our website at www.juneteenthatlanta.com. I'm the big black man, and that's my time. Also, pay your light bill. See your light. I'm out.